Well, you are listening to CKUA. My name is Grant Stovall, and the program is Alberta Morning. And next up, a conversation about quite the remarkable holiday-themed work, All Is Calm, the Christmas Truce of 1914. Based on a real story, it's running at the Rosebud Opera House stage in beautiful Rosebud, Alberta, right through this Saturday, December 23rd. And I'm thrilled to say that I'm joined right now by the show's director, also Rosebud Theatre's artistic director. Morris Ertman is here. Morris, thank you so much for making some time to join us on Alberta Morning. It's great to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Well, first off, can you paint us a picture, take us all the way back to the events that inspired this work? What was it that occurred on December 24th and 5th of 1914?
Well, we're in World War I. The Germans and the Allies are facing each other in trenches. And all of a sudden, somebody in one of the trenches starts to compete with a song. And one song leads to another song, leads to another song, leads to another song on Christmas Eve. And before you know it, people are courageously stepping out of their trenches. And by the way, stepping out of your trench means you could get shot. And before you know it, they're meeting in no man's land, exchanging carols, singing together, gifts, cigarettes, whatever they happen to have that they exchanged. They basically have a party in no man's land, and it ends with a soccer game. And they play soccer. The Germans won, by the way, but they wind up having a soccer game, and basically, it's 2 days of goodwill in the middle of a war, goodwill between enemies. It's just a beautiful story.
And I'm interested to know how you relate this story on stage. Like, how do you tell this as a production and get all of these events across? Like, how is the narrative laid out to the audience?
Well, the text itself, the words themselves, are actually taken from letters of the men who wrote back from the front. And what's beautiful about the show is that they've been put together in a narrative structure where you actually follow what's going on in the story, but of course it's in their own words. And at the end of each one of those little narrations, if you will, which are performed, which are acted, because we're actors. At the end of each one of those, the person who wrote the letter home is named. It's really quite powerful. You know, these voices of people long gone are alive on the stage. And then, of course, the other part of the story is music. And it's so important because it's what got it all going. It's 8 men singing a cappella harmony on stage. And these harmonies are incredible. Everything from A Long Way to Tipperary to Silent Night, this incredible rendition of Silent Night that just draws you in. It's and all of that works together in a way that is delivering Christmas to audiences.
Yeah. I'm really curious to know. I mean, it's amazing how much this music does bring people together, as music tends to do. And even some of these carols exist in both German and English, like Silent Night, Stille Knacht. But how are audiences responding? I mean, this has been a hugely successful run. What are they saying? What does it tell you about how this more than century-old story is resonating right now in 2023?
Well, the place is packed. And the response from audience members, and I think what's really significant is that at the end of the show, we have actors meeting the audience, and that's part of our Christmas tradition. And so many choked up by the story, people just in tears at the end of it. And yet, and what's so amazing to me is that it lands with that kind of pathos and everything else, and yet people still feel like they got the feeling of Christmas that people come to Rosebud for. And it surprises me. I knew that the story would relate, and I knew the music was great, but I didn't expect it to explode like this. And I think it could be the time. It could be the fact that we're faced with some significant conflicts in the world. and it's on our mind and in the news every morning. And it could be that. And then all of a sudden, a show lands, which we couldn't have known about when we planned to put it on our stage. A show lands that speaks right into the center of where we're at in the world today. And audience members have commented on that. So I think the show is working the way a show should work on every front.
Right. It's bringing us that sense of escapism. It's bringing us something contemporaneous to our moment as a community, but it's also making us think about the larger world, the society we inhabit, and ourselves. That's kind of the high function of art, I think it's fair to say, Morris. And congratulations to you and to the whole creative team on the strong success of All Is Calm. And of course, you're getting toward the end of this run, and we're well into the festive season, and the new year beckons. I was wondering, what does Rosebud Theatre have planned for us in 2024?
Well, 2024 will be a big year. It's an ambitious season. We're going to be opening with the stage version of Chariots of Fire, the story of Eric Liddell and Harold Abrams and their famous races at the 1924 Paris Olympics. And by the way, it's 100 years later that the Olympics will be in Paris.
Right.
And so we're kind of the warm-up act for the Olympics, I like to say. And so we're going to put that epic story on our stage, and people know the film, of course, multi-Academy Award-winning film from quite a few years ago, complete with Olympic races and all of the again, I'll use the word pathos, the pathos and striving that you expect in a story about Olympians running.
Wow.
And so we're very excited about putting that on our stage, and the production team as well. It's already busy building. Everybody's already onto the show because it's a big deal for us. So we open with Chariots of Fire.
Wow.
And then in the summertime, we're going to do Little Women, the Broadway musical version. And of course, that's a perennial favorite. That story is so important to so many people. So many people grew up with it. And so we're putting that on our stage in the summertime as their summer musical. And then on the studio stage in the summer, a show called The Fever, written by Wallace Shawn of
My Dinner with Andre.
My Dinner with Andre fame and Princess Bride fame.
Sure.
Anyway, we're going to be putting that on our studio stage. And then in the fall, a show called For the Pleasure of Seeing Her Again by Michel Tremblay. And Tremblay is a very important Canadian playwright. And this is his ode to his mom, who he basically says was his inspiration. And she's a nut bar. An absolute nut bar. And what's kind of cool about that, by the way, is we've got Karen Johnson Diamond, a Calgary actor who is going to be playing Mama. And she's busy. She's in Christmas Carol right now, very busy. And then Griffin Cork, her son, will be playing her son.
Wow.
Will be playing Tremblay. And so the beauty of this is that life will meet art on our stage with that show. And then finally, at Christmas time, Christmas on the Air by Lucia Frangione. We're in a 1940s radio station. Well, no, a 1940s radio company is going to be on the opera stage doing a Christmas Eve show in front of a live audience. And it's all about not just the content, but the drama that's going on behind the scenes as we find out about secrets and hidden things and love and mixed up Christmas and all kinds of other wonderful things.
Well, to quote a famed role played by Wallace Shawn, inconceivable. This sounds like an amazing season you've got coming up. Thanks for sharing us, Morris. That's so great. And I'm really appreciative of your company. I well recognize that after this run ends, Christmas Eve is basically going to be your first day off in a long, long time. So I'm hoping all is calm and all is bright. And thank you so much for being here and for sharing with us this morning.
Well, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
That is Rosebud Theatre's artistic director, Morris Ertman, also directing this much acclaimed current production, All Is Calm, The Christmas Truce of 1914, running right now at the Rosebud Opera House stage in Rosebud, Alberta. And you can check out everything that they've got coming up by going to rosebudtheatre.com.